Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. Crowey here, the Crowe Show, coming at you wherever you're at. I'm coming to you from live, I guess kind of a version of live if it's recorded, whatever. Coming to you live from my 42nd birthday, 42 laps around the sun. Crazy times. And you know what doesn't take a holiday on your birthday? Getting the job done. Making it happen. And you know what else doesn't take a holiday? Invoicing. Never. Today's session is on invoicing. I just cracked a coconut water, not a beer, a coconut water. As a matter of fact, I will recommend these Cocoa Coast things. We're not sponsored yet, but I tell you what, my family could do with a Cocoa Coast sponsorship. Expensive at this point. Invoicing, crazy. I like to sort of really sit on what I do and go, okay, sweet, what is relevant for today? And I was scrolling over the weekend, I was scrolling back through my notes, and I save a lot of things in my Apple Notes, and I went to this invoicing session. It was like the trade god spoke to me. This is a session I did 5 years ago, and the trade god said, this is the one you are meant to deliver for the Crowe Show. And I'm like, here we are. So let's go. Invoicing. We're going to go through my thoughts about invoicing. And it's crazy. The big thought, if you take one thing away and one thing only, if you dance to one song and one song only, if you skate to one song and one song only, it's Black Eyed Peas, My Humps. We know that. But if you take one thing out of this pod, here it is. And you would have heard me say this many, many times. If there's a problem with the invoice, there's a problem with the process. So if there's been a problem with your invoice, if your invoice goes out and a client has an issue with it, then something has led up to that issue. Invoicing should just be what it is. Like the invoice should get sent out for $800, $4,000, $6,000, $20,000. And it's like, yep, exactly what they said, bam, paid. That's the dream, right? That people would be like, that is exactly what was communicated. There is no gray areas. Those variations came through, perfect. That's what we discussed. This is bang, 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 bang. Problem with the invoice, problem with the process. So it's going to be interesting for me to go back in here. I haven't really looked at my notes because I want to sort of see what it brings up as a fresh approach, as from fresh eyes 5 years down the track, because some things never change. And my Frozen people will be like, some things never change. Frozen, what a great movie. I got 2 boys and they love Frozen still. I can't even imagine what it would be like having girls. I'd be frothing on that thing. Invoicing. It's wild to think how, and I guess this is my other big point if you take something away. It's wild to think when you get busy, what is one of the first things to go? When you get busy, one of the first things to go is usually between invoicing and quoting. I'm behind on invoices, or I'm behind on quoting. So I'm behind on bringing in money, getting paid for what I've done, and I'm behind on bringing in future money. It's psycho level crazy. You don't ever want to be behind on invoicing. There's actually no excuse for you to ever be behind on invoicing. And if there is an excuse once or twice, well, the third time, what are you going to do about it? What you going to do about it? This is your responsibility. And if not yours, someone in your company's responsibility. So I'm going to go through my thoughts. But essentially this, if there's a problem with the invoice, there's been a problem with the process. All right, here's my points. Point number 1, invoicing is important. Would you agree? Of course. Without an invoice, your company doesn't get paid. Without an invoice, it doesn't get paid. So it's just crazy to think that you could be too busy to get paid. It is absolutely not okay, right? It's absolutely not okay. It's such an important part of it's the most important part of the job. You're getting paid. And we need to drill that into everyone, our staff members, our clients, we would be like, we would invoice every single Monday from the week prior. So Monday to Friday rolls through and everything is invoiced. Now, there are some nuances with that. With obviously service and maintenance stuff, we were doing a fair bit. It's funny, we get lumped as the project company a little bit. And even Sparky Coach, I would say, gets lumped a little bit like, oh, you guys deal with people doing projects. And we do. And that's an important part of your electrical business and your aircon and solar business, because you're going to get the small jobs lead to the big jobs and the big jobs lead to the large jobs. You can't just pick one and that's it, because you want to be diversified in a sector. It's kind of like investing in the one spot, putting all your eggs in the one basket. Like, of course you can do it, but the diversification is such an important part of your business and of your financial personal life. To put all your eggs in one basket in all the commercial sector or all the whatever sector, the service sector, is pretty psycho. Like, it's not really where you want to be. It's not really like, you want to be protected in case the market drops in the homeowner. Like, the moment, you got to look at what we're dealing with. We're dealing with interest rates going up. And this is typical to 2026, right? Like right now, we're dealing with interest rates going up. Consumer spending is quite low because everyone's tightening the screws on their personal budget because there's not as much money flying around as there used to be. Rent's going up and the cost of living's expensive. Food's growing up. And I bought a rock melon for $150. Just crazy stuff. And so what's the first thing to go? Maybe I don't need those 2 extra PowerPoints, right, in this sector. Now, so you look at that right now. You look at it and go, okay, sweet. Well, residential Betty is drying up a little bit in certain markets. But what happens when people stop eating out? The hospitality industry suffers, definitely. But let's just say we used to work for a company that baked bread. So when all the homeowners stop eating out and start eating at home, what do? They go to Woolworths, Aldi, IGA, Foodworks, their local bay grocer, whatever. You go there and you buy stuff. So like all the other sectors go up, you know. So we used to bake bread. We used to work for this company that baked bread for Woolworths, and they're cooking in their economic tightening. They are pushing bigger numbers than ever, moving more loaves of bread than ever, moving more pastries than ever, because the market sort of shifted. Now, that's not like a black and white sort of like, that's just a generic sort of example, but you can kind of see to pin yourself in one market is pretty crazy. You want to be diversified enough to make sure that you can capitalize upon all seasons. I always flash back to COVID. Remember when COVID happened and the world was ending? And the world still might be ending. I mean, who really knows besides the trade gods? But I remember the residential sector fully shut down. If you flash back to 2020, was that? Start of 2020? You couldn't really go into Betty's house. I remember pushing a pram along Crowe Esplanade, and you know when everyone's keeping their 1.5 meters, and it was like keep 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. And I remember this guy. I remember a couple of things at that time. Everyone was scared to touch door handles, and you know, you got to keep your distance, and what about that, and this and that. I'm dying. And I remember this one guy was running on Crowe Esplanade, profusely sweating, just sprinting past everyone, sweat flying off his body like he was in a Christina Aguilera film clip, right? Just going crazy. And everyone's like, oh, you're disgusting, yeah, just going nuts. It's crazy times. COVID. Remember when COVID happened? Where were you when that happened? And I remember residential stuff fully shut down because no one wanted you in their house because it was like post-apocalyptic craziness. And I remember we had this job in Gerringong, which is about an hour and a half south of Sydney, basically. So we're driving an hour and a half. And I remember getting to this job and it was at deck work stage. So I'm going from no one can touch a door handle, no one can do this and this, drive down an hour and a half south of Sydney, get to this project we had on, and there was 40 people climbing down this aluminium ladder. You had steel fixers, form workers, chippies, you had plumbers, you had sparkies, just all site managers, the owners, all climbing down this one ladder to get on this deck. And I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to die, I might as well die now. So anyway, I say that to say certain sectors rise and fall. But when the service and maintenance stuff shut down for us at that point, which is sometimes completely out of your control, the project stuff was wide open. It was wide open. You could go there, you could rough in commercial, industrial, residential, all this kind of stuff. So it's really important to be diversified. Plus, also, you don't really have a choice. I said it before. And shout out to Dave Fairbairn from Electric Avenue. I think he shared this story in a Spark Your Interest podcast. I'm just going to steal it and paraphrase it because I think we've all got a story similar. He said he got called out to put a fan in for a horse and in this shed, and he thought it was a joke. And he gets there, puts a fan in, and for a small, like, whatever that is, $300 to $500 job. And then he basically, yep, sweet, here's the invoice, bang, 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 bang. And it's his biggest client now. So how many times have you been to a small job for $200, $500, $1,000, and it's turned into your best client, or they've chipped you into your best client? And how many times have you been on the commercial industrial sites and they're like, oh, would you mind having a look at my board upgrade, my new spa circuit, or this kind of stuff? So the big leads to small, the small leads to big. It's so important that you are diversified. It's not even the point of this pod, but that was still pretty good. Invoicing is important. Without it, you don't get paid. Can you imagine a world that's crazier than not sending an invoice for something that you have completed? It's absolutely bonkers. Bonkers. Craziness. Invoicing is important. It is the lifeblood of the business. It brings in cash flow, and cash flow is everything. And I just want you to just stop wherever you're at and just stop making excuses. If you're ever behind an invoicing, that's a real issue. That's a real issue. Your business is unhealthy. And I want you to compare it to like a real health issue you have. Like I tore my MCL. I've got some nut sickness. Like this is bad. This is bad. This is bad, and it must stop. Invoicing is important. Without it, you and the business don't get paid. All right, here we go. Invoicing is fun. I got business coaching in maybe 2015 by this guy from the Northern Beaches. Back then, not really like this now. Kind of still is now. Cronulla was like a poor man's Northern Beaches. If you're on Northern Beaches, you're like, you're damn right it was. And if you're from Cronulla, you're like, no way, man, we're better than those guys. We've got better reef breaks. And we do have a lot better waves, actually, Cronulla does. Not better beaches, but better reef breaks, 100%. Anyway, I digress. I got business coaching from this guy who was in my BNI. This BNI is a business networking thing. And this is interesting. Certain people are quieter than usual at this time. And a lot of times when you're quiet, you can trace it back to what you were doing 3 to 6 months ago. And you have to be, or what you were not doing 3 to 6 months ago, maybe is a better way to put it. You have to be consistently looking for work. I'm a big believer that you have to have, if you've ever had no work before, you'll know how bad it is to have no work. It's such an awful feeling. There's 3 major times where I'm like, these are the worst parts of business. One is not having enough work. One is having too much work, and the other one is letting people go. Like they're the worst. Like they're so bad. At least with having too much work, you've usually got options to bring in subcontractors and train up from within and all this kind of stuff. Not always, but you've got a couple of options. But with having no work, what's the percentage of people that can give you work tomorrow? Percentage play, right? Like not that many. Not many, if any. Like, how many dudes give you work tomorrow? Not many, if any. Not many. Not many people can be like, yeah, I've got a great job for you for 3 months starting tomorrow. It's not typical. Usually, like, the people that can give you work tomorrow is normally the reactive people, like say a real estate or something where something's gone wrong and I have to react to that. So it's so interesting. So I joined a BNI. Did a good pod on this maybe 12 to 18 months ago, 2 years ago. BNI, it's the most culty thing you go to without it actually being a cult. It's absolutely culty. Make zero mistake. I remember getting there and it's sort of, if you've never been to one before, you get in this sort of circle chanting. No, you don't really. Some chanting. Just get in this circle. And you're sitting down, whatever, and you have to share, oh, hi, I'm Greg from Crowe Electrical, and this week we're looking for a builder, a commercial client, an intro into this company, and we do everything with wires and whatever your sort of spiel is. And I remember they were like, oh, Greg, it's your turn to share. And I didn't have a referral, which is basically, oh, I've got a referral for Billy the accountant, talk to my friend. And I remember I got pulled aside by the powers that be, by the cult leaders, by the ponchos. The Poncho Society pulled me over, and they're like, alarm bells, ding, 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 and they pulled me over, and they're like, you have to have a referral. And it was my second week in there, or first week or something, and I'm like, nah, man, this is cooked. Like I don't know any of these people. I'm not going to refer my friends or family member to these people that I don't know. That's not my idea of a good time. And I said that, and they were like, okay. So I was able to be like, no, I'm not falling into your cultish ways. I'm not donning the poncho just yet. Just give me some time. Give me some time. Give me some time. And but anyway, so long story short, I joined that BNI to sort of, at certain parts of business, you'll exhaust your network, so to speak. And everyone's like, your network is your net worth. That's cool, whatever. But you exhaust the people you know. At some point, you've got to meet some new people. And the business networking part is a way to meet new people. I would say of the 30 people that were in there, 5 of them were absolute legends. 5 of them were absolute tools, and the 20 were sort of in the middle. But the tools were not my idea of a good time. But the good people I met in there were people who just wanted to do business with people and meet people and break some bread with people. They were absolute legends. Like 2 of them turned into our biggest clients, which is weird to think if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have met them. If I don't meet them, we don't get all this work. If we don't get all that work, you don't get all the work that flows on from that. So that's sort of why I joined it. It's a really nice way to sort of go about meeting new people. If you can avoid donning the poncho and, having some cold potato soup. Anyway, invoicing is fun. Got this business coach, and he was not trade-based, which I do think has some, I do think that brought out a different side of my business. And I think my coaching now, we would say, is almost a bit more holistic. Got a lot of church background, leadership background, a lot of outside the sort of sparky world background, a lot of friends in different industries making money from different ways. I saw some of my best friends making millions of dollars a year from hourly rate works, which is so crazy to me that people still rubbish the cost plus world. I don't understand. I don't understand anyone that's not having a wholesale rate. Any industry has a wholesale rate to their major customers if they're like, hey, I'll give you this much work a year. And there's nothing wrong with wholesale rates if you're printing money. I don't find, if I told you, hey, you'll do predominantly cost plus work and you'll make $1 million a year, are you going to argue with that? Are you going to be, what are you going to say to that? Hey, I'll give you this work. You're going to have 15 major clients. Your turnover is going to be $3 to $5 million, whatever it is, and you're going to make $1 million. What are you going to do to me? Are you going to slap me and be like, no, I only work off a price book. I do a flat rate now system. Cool. That's cool. And each to their own. And I'm not rubbishing any system. They all work. And that's my point. They all work. And that's my point with the projects. They all work. Everything works. You just need to know how. It's not a matter of does that work or not. It's a matter of it does work. How can I make that work? And the biggest danger of all is people buying and selling labor and materials at a loss. It's crazy. But I remember the business coach, I was sitting with him, I think his place was at Clavelli, and was or Bronte, and was sort of looking over the water. And I was like, this is cool. I want to do this. I want to look at some water in my house. And he was a legend, run a few businesses. And I remember he sort of goes, are you behind on invoicing again? And I'm like, yeah. And it's funny when people dive into the psyche of why you're behind it, why I was behind. And he's like, why do you reckon you're behind on invoicing? And there was a couple of major reasons. One of them was I was still doing everything myself at that point because no one else can do it but me. Have you ever said that before? No one else can do it but me. I'm the guy. I'm the girl. No one knows how to twist copper like me. No one can fit a PowerPoint off like me. No one can populate an invoice like me. No one can do it like me. And I remember being like, that was a major reason. We're going to get to that down the track. But another major reason, which we brought up from discussing, which he was like, why are you behind? I'm like, oh, well, firstly, I'm doing it all myself, and if I'm not valuing it. So a big core issue was yes, I was doing it myself. I needed to outsource it. Another huge one was I didn't value that the money was made or lost in the office. I could say that, but what I was doing was contrary to that. And you can say whatever you want in life. You can have a belief system, but you show me your calendar, you show me what you do, and I'll show you your belief system, because your belief system will inherently decide your calendar. And if you are questioning if the money's made or lost in the office, then if you're like, I don't really believe that, I don't really believe that, then your calendar will reflect that. But if you know how important invoicing is, you will find a way, come hell, high water, come death, disease, famine, act of God. These invoices are going out Monday or Tuesday at the latest. Shout out to our Sparky Coach program. We just added a close of the week session on Tuesday afternoon, which will hopefully really help people be like, that's the deadline. That is the absolute deadline. But I remember diving into this, and I had to confront, why am I behind? Because there were some logistical issues, but there was also some emotional issues for me. And the huge issue was I felt bad making money, and we were making good money at that point. And I remember just feeling bad about it for some reason. I feel bad. I had this crazy fear of success, and I also felt like I was, why am I making this? Am I allowed to make this much money? And it was weird. If you'd never been through that before, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. You're like, oh, I'm getting all the money I can. You just Scrooge McDuck, just pull the money from it. But I had this real weird belief system, and a part of it probably was, being in and around a church for a while, and everyone's got 1980s furniture, and there's something wrong with that, of course. But I just feel like there's a few mentality things that might have needed to shift in me. And I didn't, and I just had to confront it and be like, I don't know why I feel bad about making money. I feel bad because I'm scared of being successful. I'm scared of being successful because I'm incredibly insecure. And I'm so insecure that I'm going to let what other people think dictate my life. And it was a really sort of moment for me. This light bulb went on. And I'm like, holy crap, why is what someone else thinks more important than what I want to do? That's not how I want to live my life. I didn't sign up to life to be worried my whole life about what people think. And it was really it was almost like an internal journey. I remember he said something to me that really stuck with me. He goes, invoicing should be the best part of your week. Invoicing should be the best part of your week. And I remember just wow, it's not the best part. I can tell you right now, it's a very stressful part of my week. But it took me on a journey being he goes, you should be sort of populating your invoice, or someone's populating, and then you're making money and you're sending it. You've done what you said you're going to do. You're making good money, and the client's happy and you're happy and everyone's happy. And I'm like, I've never thought of invoicing being a joy before. It's always been a massive burden, and it shouldn't be stressful. And I remember being, I remember just flashing before my eyes. I remember sending invoices to this client. You would have probably heard me tell this story before. And I remember just being, when invoices go out, I was really scared about the replies that came in. And a lot of things, to be honest, were my fault. I wasn't having the proper conversations, and invoices going out, it was different to maybe what was discussed, or I was scared about it, all this kind of stuff. I will side note this. I might have this in a later point, but if you're ever worried about an invoice, just make a phone call before it sends. So I was a massive, massive fan of checking everything, because it's really important that the invoice gets sent correctly. And we'll probably get to that later in this pod. But if you're worried about something, just pick up the phone and be like, oh, hey, Rebecca's going to send the invoice in about an hour. Just so you know, there was those 3 extra items at $250. They've added on. It'll read through really well. Give me a call, any questions. Hey, just so you know, your invoice has landed here. We've done this, and this. This is why this part took longer. This part went shorter. I'm so stoked to tell you that we went better than expected. I'm so stoked to tell you that this happened. So it doesn't have to be negative news all the time. It can be positive news, but don't neglect or forget to maybe pick up the phone call. If the invoice is a bit different to what it should have been, or you're looking at it being like, I'm just making that extra phone call. I know I said that was a $3,000 upgrade, but we added those 4 items, and just want to make sure they're on top of that. So if you've got to make that extra phone call for 2 or 3 minutes and put you above reproach, that's a very, very good use of 2 to 3 minutes, 100%. So invoicing is fun. Should be the best part of your week. You should be looking at it going I've made good, honest money, and I've done a good, honest job, and my clients are happy, and I'm pushing forward. But I remember this one client I'd put the invoice out there, And even to the point, oh, I remember, I don't know if it's his idea, probably my idea, but let's blame him. But I remember coming up with like an alias, coming up with a name, let's call it two names put together. So this was a girl's name, but I remember coming up with, he's like, would you feel better if your invoices were sent by not yourself? And it's a really, really good idea. Invoices not coming from the big dog are a great idea. Coming from Rebecca Humphreys or Georgia McLovin or something. Some names. McLovin. Why McLovin? It's a popular name. So anyway, he was like, maybe just put it from someone else to send it from accounts email and get some separation there, which is a huge part of everything. But this one builder would always have an issue with an invoice. And we did a lot of pub work for this builder, and really nice guy, got along really well with him, did a lot of work at their houses and stuff like that. And I can't share that. I can't share that. It's too obvious. But my gosh, anyone, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, hit me up on a DM. That's a funny conversation. Anyway, we digress. I remember this one, he's writing back in lowercase, hey, this. And I remember it really stressed me out when someone had an issue with it. And I was like, oh, maybe I could have done that differently. So basically, every time there was an issue with the end product, it was like fault finding. I would fault find back to where it went wrong. I'm like, oh my gosh, that went wrong at this point. That went wrong. I didn't communicate properly. I could have made that one extra phone call. I just needed to have that extra conversation. I just needed actually to document that in writing. I just needed to capture my job notes a little bit cleaner. I just needed to, there's a rhyme and a reason to where the communication was broken. So if you turned up to an electrical job that was faulty, that something wasn't working, you would trace it back, right? And you would find out why. And there's the same thing if your business is consistently presenting same or similar issues, you can usually trace it back to, oh, that's where that went wrong. Cool. And if you fault find in a non-emotional way, and I think sometimes electrically, it's amazing electrically because it's fact-based, right? If something's not working, there has to be a reason, where sometimes we don't apply that same sort of logic to an invoice or a variation going wrong. We just go, oh, there's an issue. Oh, client's a dickhead. And throwing knives like you're on Donkey Kong, throwing some bananas in the air. And it's not the right way forward. You got to apply the same level of logic. Oh, there's an issue. Where did it go wrong? Okay, cool. So, here. My gosh, it's my fault. And in this case, the builder kept responding in lowercase, and I had to confront him and be like, hey, it's really stressing me out when you confront in lowercase. Like, give me a phone call, and if it's a real issue, tell me. But all the stuff you're bringing up, like, it's not a thing to me. And I remember he was like, yeah, cool, sweet. And that was a conversation we had. I was well within my rights to be like, dickhead client, you're out. But so many of us just throw the baby out with the bathwater, when in fact you can just have that one conversation and be like, oh, hey, I reckon we could do better at this point. I reckon I could do better here, but I reckon you could do better here. I reckon I'm gonna fix this. Can you fix this lowercase aggression, passive aggressiveness? Can you fix that? Stressing me out. Good, honest conversation. So invoicing is fun. Should be the best part of your week. If it's not the best part of your week, why? Why isn't it? Is it a logistical issue, or is it something deep? Is it deep? Is it deep within you? Big question. This is huge. Invoicing should be regular. Weekly at the latest. You would have heard me say by Monday midday, all my invoices were sent from last week. Unless, of course, that client's on, we had one client on fortnightly payment terms, and he was a legend. And the check would come in the mail every fortnight. It was like clockwork. One of the nicest guys I've ever met, my favorite client, maybe one of the people I've learned more about from business and life than anyone, just by watching. I should do a pod, an ode. I don't want to name him because he was pretty famous, but like an ode to this guy and his partner. Just like the nicest, most hardworking, most disciplined and diligent, most honest, just the coolest couple, right? Huge. Should be regular, weekly. So we invoice him fortnightly. Projects, obviously, some of them you're sending on the 20th or the 25th for the month. That's all. Sometimes you can't just dictate your payment terms, but where possible, Monday at the latest from the week before. And I remember like a couple of things is huge. Cost plus jobs, never let them roll on. And especially if you're at a job and it was $1,000 or $10,000 and you've got 2 more wall lights to fit off, whether it was quoted or cost plus, I would send the invoice for what's being completed, and that would force my hand to be like, and we're coming on Thursday to fit your last parts off, your last wall lights, your last PowerPoints, to test and commission that board, to test the spa circuit, to whatever. Right? And you have to invoice for what was, what you've done, and then whatever's outstanding, deal with it the week after. If you can invoice, you should. Cost plus is a closed job. Every week is closed. Every week is closed. So I invoice Monday to Friday, and the invoice comes on Monday. I check its net profit, which is usually 20 to 25%. If it's not, you need to check that. And your overheads could be a huge issue in this. Can of worms, bust it open. But it's an in-depth conversation for another day. Every single week is sending. I remember this one, we had this, it was sort of this commercial client we had, and they were pretty big, and they got this new warehouse in St. Peter's, actually, which is sort of like an inner city trendy warehouse. And I remember they wanted all these lights hung. They were sort of diversifying into all these lights, and they were like, yeah, we want to hang all these lights everywhere, we're going to sell them. And I remember looking up going, well, there's nothing to hang them on. so I came up with this idea just to throw a Unistrut around everywhere, make it look super industrial, and some tray, and then hang everything off that. I was like, it's going to be expensive, but this is going to look the coolest, and you're going to like this. And I remember them like, yeah. And just stuff off 8-foot ladders or 12-foot ladders or scissor lifts, it takes longer than and some things you'll find electrically specifically, some things sound easy and they're not, and some things sound hard and they're easy. So probably the reason why your best performing jobs are board upgrades, because they look so complex and hard, and they sound so dramatic, and RCBO and earth stake and earth leakage and consumer mains. It's just like, oh yeah, $4 grand, $5 grand. What? Yeah, that sounds like that. It's because it's more dramatic. But some things sound easy, hang 20 lights, and it's like, well, this is going to take me 4 days to do this in certain areas. And I remember having that conversation, and then I was like, we'll just send you out. It was a Thursday, so we did Thursday and Friday, and I had my staff members do it. Got to Friday afternoon, I prepared the invoice because I wanted to let them know where we were up to. So I was like, hey, I think we're up to $5 grand or $6 grand with materials at that point. I'm like, hey, we're up to here. What do you want me to do with next week? And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sweet. That's enough for that part, and we'll come back in 2 weeks when we get some more money. I'm like, sweet, cool. Now, the old Crowe would have just plowed through that job 7 days in a row, sent him an invoice for $20,000 and been like, and they're like, whoa, that's way more than I thought. I'm like, you're a dickhead. Bashing bananas out of the ground like I'm Donkey Kong from Donkey Kong 1 on the Super Nintendo. Just cause them drama. You know what Fergie says? You don't want no drama. So it's just so interesting to be like, that one conversation, the one process, and everyone harps on, and it kind of annoys me a little bit. Probably got to get over it. But it just annoys me. Oh, you need processes and systems. The best process you can have, the best system you can have is closing the week. Is to double check every job for net profit, double check my labor efficiency, send every single invoice that I can, populate my ongoing jobs, double check all the non-negotiables have been completed, ask myself how I performed, and then we roll into the next week. You want a process? You do that. You want to know how to work? Close a week, close a month, set and achieve 1 to 3 tasks. So that's it. Everyone wants this big picture, psycho level vision. And it's like, you probably just need to do what's in front of you. And the way everything's specifically changing these days, I know that we're still going to be selling labor materials for profit in the next 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. As long as there's manual labor involved and it's a roof space, probably no robot's going to climb in with you at this point. But the way we do back-end stuff is going to change significantly. So it's really going to change in the next 5 years. You can probably feel it already. A lot of job management software is going to be obsolete, I would suggest. Someone's going to probably come and take over the whole thing. But yeah, interesting. Anyway, I say that to say the best process or system you need is closing the week. And that's what we do here. And it's such an in-depth process, but it's also so easy, but it's also so critical. It's part of the critical pathway. So invoicing should be regular. Don't wait. Whenever you wait for a diagnostic, or wherever you wait, generally speaking, the further away the invoice date from the work's completed, there's there's like there's a seed time and harvest in a negative way. So you send the invoice and it's like, oh, was Joey really here for 4 hours on that date? Did they really put in 6 PowerPoints? Did they really run that extra? Did they really? And it's usually speaking, if you're behind an invoicing, usually crediting a lot of stuff. Usually like, oh, I can't charge that variation, didn't have that conversation. Oh, I forgot to do that. Forgot to charge my diagnostic fee. So diagnostic fee, let's say you go out to a Dakin Splitty and it's a four-way valve or whatever. No aircon expert. But let's just say there's some diagnostic, a PC board or something. You don't have the part on you. So you should be charging for that diagnostic for whatever it is, you're $250. And then I'll charge that. I've ordered the part and I'm quoting to repair. So most people just order the part and they get to the end of the second day, which is in a week's time when the part comes in, the second part of the job, the second visit, you might say. And they send the invoice and it's like, oh, the client's like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be $2,000. And it's, oh, cool, I'll just credit the diagnostic. You happy with that? So usually you're just crediting. The longer the invoice, the more you're crediting. And the more you forget, have you ever, oh my gosh, I remember for me, just sending invoices or sending quotes that was a bit delayed. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. You're literally just like throwing money away. Bang, bang, bang. You get $5, you get $10, you get $100, you get this, you get, it's not great, you would say. So you want to be really, really on top of invoicing. All right, invoicing should be regular. Invoicing should be in the one spot. I remember working at my friend Steve Hinton's house. He runs Hinton Linings based in the Sutherland Shire. And I remember working at his house one time and it was like, oh man. I remember leaving his house and doing a voice memo of all the stuff that I'd used there. And at this point of my job note collection or job note collation, I had voice memos going on. I had bits of cardboard going on. Either written on the back of a bit of cardboard, thrown it in the van, she'll be right. Yes. I had PowerPoint boxes, the cover ripped off, written on that. I had emails sent to myself, Apple Notes, staff had text their job notes in, staff had email jobs in. I was going to places. I'll remember that. Have you ever done that? Like, I'll just remember that. think of the reality of you remembering that. I remember for me running a whole bunch of cables at this place and I'm like, I'll remember that. And it's like, thank God I documented it because 20 years down the track, I've got no idea where the security camera I ran in 2007 is, right? Provision for. So I remember just going through going like, this is crazy. I've got so much stuff in so many pathways. So if you're using a job management software, which you really should be, you need the same job notes with the same level of detail. So that when I say the same job notes script, so every job just have a job notes script. Try and keep it as simple as possible. I like to use the same one for projects and service work. Just says the same sort of stuff like name, how long you're on site for, who you're with, did you use anything from somewhere? That brings up another issue with purchase orders and are they correct and are you doing street name or job number, and if you are doing job number, are you crediting back to that to get a correct reading? And it opens up a huge can of worms. Once again, if you close in the week, you'll figure all this stuff out on the go because a lot of it's so overwhelming to do at once. And that's business 101. If you have to do everything you've got to do now, it's incredibly stressful. But if you've got to do it over a 5-year period, it's like, oh, I can do that. Just do 1 or 2 things a week. It'll be sweet. Like so try to take some pressure off you and just do the next critical thing or the next right thing, referencing Frozen 2, do the next right thing. So I remember just going, this is crazy. I've got to get a job note script and I've got to populate it all in the one spot. I've got to capture all the information that I want is important to me, variation scripts, all this kind of stuff, and it should be all in the one spot. Flashing back to Dumb and Dumber, you know in Dumb and Dumber, and he's like, at the end of it, he's like, where's my money? And he's like, don't throw this bit of paper out. These are IOUs. It's just like, a lot of us run our electrical business like that. You're sort of spending money here on this card, on that card, and you're invoicing bits here, but not here, but a bit over there. You're quoting here, but not really, but kinda. Your job notes kinda here, but over there, but definitely not. But I remember that, but I won't remember this, but I'll do this, but I won't do this. I've got food on my face, and I don't know food on my face. Vince Vaughn Reading Crashes style. And you're looking at it going, oh, it just populate in the one spot. Like a lot of it's just dumb. And it's a very, very simple fix. And it's amazing how much you can justify when you're running around, when you're on the hamster wheel, when you're on the treadmill, you're busy. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to correctly log my hours. I don't have time to collate my staff members' hours. I don't have time to, it's bad. It's bad habits. Bad habits. A bad habit. Get yourself a structure. Once again, a system. Huge, right? So here we go. Invoicing should be in the one spot. The invoice should make sense. The invoice should make sense. It has to read through well. The carpet must match the drapes, right? The carpet must match the drapes. So if you've been to a fault find and it was a tricky one and the invoice was $2,000, right? The job notes on that are going to need to match $2,000. You can't just be like fault find, tripping 20 amp RCBO, $2,000. You need to draw that out, and the carpet, i.e. the job notes, must match the drapes in terms of the amount. So unbelievably critical there. Lay it out well. Let it rain in the descriptions. We've got a great job note templates, all this kind of stuff in our Sparky Coach platform. It's just a good hub of documents. All right, the invoice should make sense financially. This is huge. The amount of people doing work and not making money, and I think to some extent, you just have to accept full reign of responsibility here. It's not okay to not check every single invoice for net profit, gross profit. And that's huge, because is your gross profit correct? Where can you increase that? Where is it decreasing when you don't want it to? Is your net profit correct? Are you operating too heavy? So if you're only checking gross and not checking net, or only checking net and not checking gross, you're gonna get sort of half a picture across the whole thing. Your invoice must make sense. Did the revenue match the drapes? Did I make money on the labor materials metric? Is my business operating too high, too low? Did I only make money because I sent that one person? Did I only make money because I have weapon 4th year and a tradie on that job? Did I only make money because that tradie's a godsend? Did I only lose money because that tradie sucks? Did I lose money because of travel? Did the job make sense? Did the day make sense? You have to double check this stuff financially. You have to know your break-even rates. You have to know your break-even rates are at a consistent state of flux. You're not one level break-even rate forever. You're going to say I'm one vagina for the rest of my life, right? Your break-even rate changes so much. You have no idea. You have to be on top of this stuff at least monthly. And if you're not, and this is the problem with I don't charge hourly rate. I just charge a price book or a price per point. And I'm not discounting that. I think just charging hourly rate and thinking you're safe is silly. And I think charging a price book and thinking you're safe is silly. I think anything not checked is silly. It's literally like fitting a PowerPoint off and being like, I'm pretty sure it works. I didn't check, but I'm pretty sure. It's like fitting a data point off and the client's like, oh, yeah, what one? I've got the internet plugged into bedroom 2. It's just not on. You go, oh, I didn't test it, but I'm pretty sure. You would never do something so crazy. And the fact that people just think because they've come up with a price book, they're okay, or because they worked off someone else's price book, they're okay. Break-even rates. Our best, I don't say best is the wrong choice of words, but our most cost-effective client is on a $70 break-even rate for a tradie. And the worst one, or the most expensive, you would say, they are about $130 break-even. So there's a huge rhyme and reason there. If I showed you how cost-effective some people made their businesses, you would fall over. If I showed you how expensive some people run their businesses, you would fall over. There's a happy middle ground of making money, but you can imagine if person cost-effective is using person not cost-effective's price book, great, making money, I'm printing money, that's awesome. If If not cost-effective person has got 3 VAs and 2 BDMs and a full-time salesperson and all the subscriptions and all the gear and all this kind of stuff and they're using another price book, you're going to be fully cooked. So you're not safe, and I don't want you to feel safe under any conditions. You need to be checking, testing, measuring, looking at your break-evens, looking at ways to improve that, looking at where they're going to move to, especially when apprentices move from $25 to tradie rates, $45. I only made money on that job because that was an apprentice there, and they roughed that in and they fit that off and all this kind of stuff under supervision, of course. But I only made money on that job because of X, Y, Z. And as soon as you remove those variables, now I don't know what X is. It's algebra. It's literally like it's a mathematical science that is consistently in flux so long as you're moving labor materials. The amount of people that think they're okay just because they came up with a concept, it's not okay. If I showed you any one of our performing clients, you would see a rainbow throughout their week. You would see that job didn't make money. That job sucked. That job was awesome. Do this again. Don't do this again. Stop using that person. That client sucks. You just see a rainbow. The invoice has to make sense financially. And if it doesn't, it needs to be either corrected or it needs to be on a pathway to be corrected. Now, let's say I build you for this podcast and I said, you got $10 to listen to this podcast. And I looked at it, I'm not making money on this. And I needed to charge you $15. I'd probably just be like, you're not getting charged for this podcast, by the way, it's just an example. But that's like I committed to 10 with you. And I sent an invoice for 10. Great. Let's say I check it. I'm like, I didn't make money on that podcast. The damn listeners, they need to be paying me $15 an hour. The dickheads. And I'm like, I need to change it. I'll change it and send it out. And you'd get it for $15. And you'd be like, what the hell? This guy just went up. This guy's a dickhead. So you just got to look at it and be like, what is the correct way to raise your prices? And it's slower. It's basically, hey guys, I've realized this. I need to be charging this now. Can we either get there or on a pathway toward, right? It's really interesting. Invoice should make sense financially. This is crazy. There's no I in invoicing. There's no I in invoicing. Now, of course, the English people are like, there's 100%. What is it? 3 I's in invoicing. But the invoices are who, not you. You should not be preparing your invoices. You should be checking your invoices, or someone of operations managers should be checking invoices, because the carpet must match the drapes. You have to think a couple of times, like, how many incorrect invoices could you send before the client loses faith in you? And probably 3 is the answer. 3 a year, maybe. And so if you send the invoice and it's wrong, the invoice and it's wrong, the invoice and it's wrong, you said it was 3, now it's 5. You said it was 5, now it's 8. You said it was 8, now it's 11. And the client's going to be like, you know what? These guys suck. Let's try someone else. These guys, there's no faith in me. So you can do the sickest job on site. The second that invoice is incorrect, the client's going to, it might not see it straight away. They're going to withdraw emotionally and be like, oh, this person's not doing what they said, or they're not doing what they used to do it for, or it's a bit different to what. So you gotta watch this sort of stuff. There's no I in invoicing. Someone should be preparing your invoices. You should be checking it because it has to make sense, because that is your product. That's the product that goes out. It's like, and I'm so stoked I'm sending this. Here it is, exactly what I said it was going to be. It's laid out perfectly. Oh, I'm a bit worried about that one. I'm going to call. You've got to check it, but someone else has to be preparing it. If you're preparing your own invoices, and you've got staff members, you're just probably doing a very low value task. So in other words, I could make $150 an hour over there, and I'm saving $30 an hour by I could just replace this admin person in a $30 to $40 range, and I'm not because no one else can do it but me. And I just think there's too great an opportunity. It's not sustainable at that point. And a lot of times you can be behind in invoicing simply because you don't have the time. You don't have the time because you're not making the time, but maybe you are too busy and maybe you need to release that. But the low value administration tasks are always the first things that you release. Yeah, huge. It's a who, not you thing. If you're doing the invoices, you're in the wrong spot. I love this, and this is sort of part of our 10 commandments, that if there's a problem with the invoice, there's a problem with the process, take this away. There's no substitute for early communication. So in anything, in early intervention, in early communication, there's no substitute for that. For basically communicating dollars beforehand, making sure that there's no stone unturned in this. Before we pick up a tool, hey, that's going to be variation. Before we start, hey, this is about 2 days worth of work. Before we open this can of worms, have you considered this other option? Before we get into this part, people pay for your intellectual property. It's very important you're good at your job. It's very important you're getting better at your job. And it's very important that you're honest about what the possibilities are. Hey, I can do this, but that's going to result in this, 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 and this. It's going to cost you roughly this. Hey, I can do that, but this is going to happen. Hey, if we don't do this, this is going to happen. So the problem of not upgrading this board now is when you renovate the upstairs, you're going to have to, and this and that. Or hey, if we do that now, it's going to... Your intellectual property and who you are, do not underestimate how important they are to the growth of your business, to the successful growth of your business. If you can be building trust, building rapport, and consistently providing a good product, you're going to have work well into the future. Check your processes, right? Was it a non-ideal client, non-ideal price, non-ideal process, non-ideal product? Great idea of a non-ideal process would be like, I'm sending invoices 4 to 6 weeks late. I'm got the right jobs, I'm sending the wrong staff members to. I've got the wrong jobs. In other words, I've quoted that one really tight. I need my best staff member on there to complete it for that. So I'm putting my best staff member on my least profitable or worst client because I made a mistake in the office, or because I'm working on a rate that I can't sustain. It's very interesting, but you know, all this kind of stuff is a process. Or Joey and Brett do these jobs because, you know, he's a cost-effective tradie and he is a junior apprentice, or she is a more expensive tradie and you're sort of playing Connect 4 a lot. If you play Connect 4, you've always got to play like you're sort of operating into the future. Like you want to leave them open, what you would call. You want to leave your cards open, but you're also like, you're changing as things fly at you, as the other person moves, as the schedule moves, as the client moves, as your staff members move. You're sort of playing on the fly a lot. You're only as good as what that other person allows or doesn't allow, and then you can pivot. But you need to pivot with this sort of stuff. Check your processes. A lot of times you just don't have the correct things built in. I got no time to close a week in there. Oh, I don't have a good job note structure for this. I don't have a way to calculate labor efficiency. I don't have a way to look at net profit all in a row. I don't have a way. I'm not looking at my days or months. So you got to always check your processes. What could I have done to prevent a back-end admin issue or a staffing issue or a client issue or a money issue? What could I have done? What can I put in place where that doesn't happen again? And the crazy thing is, we're so good at putting this stuff in place on site. We really are. We're so good at putting in rough-in checklists and fit-off checklists and end a job checklists and all these kind of checklists, and that's great, and I love that. But we need to start doing that in the office. It's not good enough anymore. So my big thought, wrapping it up, if there's a problem with the invoice, there's a problem with the process. Invoicing should be the best and funnest part of your week. And I will end on this. I'm reading a really good book at the moment called the 80-20 principle, and it's basically suggesting that 20% of the input produces 80% of the outcomes. And I think you're looking at it from this point of view, and I really want you to take this away, right? I really want you to take this away. If you looked at your week, right, and what are the most important parts of the week? One is getting paid and making sure we're making money. And the other is making sure we've got future work coming in. If you don't know what I'm talking about invoicing and quoting. They are the lifeblood of the financial state of the business and the lifeblood of the future state of the business. And 20%, which is invoicing and quoting, probably of your week, they are going to dictate the rest. So everything's going to fall back on your invoicing and your quoting, really. And invoicing opens up pricing, foundational pricing, price books, cost plus. Quoting opens up all these too. You have to know your numbers back to front. If you want to know what drives all this stuff, what's going to drive the profits, it's that one day on the business. It's that one day dialing this stuff in. It's that one day double checking those quotes. It's that one day double checking those. So you can get it done in a day, I reckon. Like, you don't need to move hell or high water. Most of us just aren't doing 4 to 8 hours that we should be doing. And I'm going to say, I don't think it's okay. And I think if you looked within, you would also be like, you know what? That's not okay. You know what? I could do better here. And I really, really think you could do better. And I want you to do better, because the better you do, the better your business gets. The better your business gets, the more profitable it is. The more profitable it is, the more we're opening up those lifestyle conversations and legacy conversations. And now I can pay my staff members more. And now my options open. So invoicing, the most important part of your week, the funnest part of your week, the best part of your week. And if it's not, really search why. Why isn't it? Because it should be. Thanks for hanging out. Peace. That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.